Hello, everybody. Once again, it's Jeffrey Daniel here. Today is August 6, 2020, coming to you I'm in Abuja, Nigeria, okay? So, me coming to you and talking to you and listening to you and exchanging ideals and ideologies and information I'm not here to tell you what to think or what to do, but I'm just here to disseminate information that's pertinent to what's going on in our society, how it's affecting our lives, and how we can get a better perspective on how to deal with some of these things, what to do. We're still on lockdown. My lockdown beard is getting more in effect as we go, so I'm keeping that going. And so while we're on lockdown, while we have this time together, why not spend it together, some places are starting to ease up the lockdowns. And as I said, you shouldn't go too extreme to the left or too extreme to the right. You have to come to the middle and find a compromise. Because I think opening up everything too soon results in more spreads. But then keeping things on total lockdown too long, we can't stay stagnant like that because our economies are suffering. We're personally suffering. So there's two things I want to touch on today, okay? One of the things is about if America, and let's say the Western world, but more specifically America, if they're really, really genuinely interested in ending this systematic racism, what we should be doing. Also, about this survival lifeline stimulus plan that they want to throw at people. We need to talk about that because now we're getting some serious repercussions because of this whole thing, okay? So what I'm going to start off is, if America was really, really serious, and let's say the Western world, if they were really, really serious about eradicating this systematic racism that has been in place for hundreds of years, okay? Here's a few steps that they would take to help them get rid of this. First of all, I would think that any government that is comprised of a multicultural civilization, citizenry, I think the government has to reflect the actual population. What do I mean by that? Is like, look at America and the UK now. They're multiracial societies, but the governments are ran by predominantly one particular race of people. Now, how does that pan out? So I think if any government that's a multicultural society is really interested in being fair and being equal, I think that the government themselves should reflect that. There should be equal members of all the racial groups within that government. Does that make sense to you? And I don't mean like doing just kind of like a symbolic thing, like, okay, here's a quota, we have a black there. No, people who are qualified, people who are genuinely prepared for that job and know how to execute that job. And there are people who are there. We do have some people like, London had their first, Middle Eastern mayor, and we have, black senators, senators and mayors and things like that in America too, and stuff like that. But I mean, really, from the top on down, it should reflect the society. Another thing, like the police department. One of the reasons why we're having so many racial conflicts between the police department and the citizens of America, wouldn't it make sense if you have more police of color patrolling places of color? Since you went ahead and segregated and made sure that, people would be segregated within the society, I think because people of color understand people of color, they understand their culture, they understand their attitude, they understand, more of the essence of who these people are. I'm not saying no white policemen should come, but I think let's say South Central LA, let's say Compton, let's say Watts, let's say the black neighborhoods, wherever they may be. I don't know if Brixton is still as black as it used to be in the UK, because I heard of the whole gentrification thing going on, whatever's going on. But whatever your black areas are, should they be patrolled by predominantly white officers? Does that make sense? You see what I mean? So I think if they would diversify that, because what's happening in America, it's like, you know, I'm not a news reporter, so I'm not here to report the news, but there's certain information that is relevant to what we're dealing with. So I will bring these things up, okay? And another thing, anything I say, anything that I stand for is not meant to be discriminative to any race, to any particular people. I'm not here to insult people. I'm just here to deal with real issues that we're all dealing with, okay? So the way they're dealing with it in America, it seems as though Jim Crow is still in effect. Because I have to point out some things that have been happening. First of all, the policemen need to get out of the attitude that they are executioners. They should not just be killing people on the streets unless that person is responding with lethal force, or that person is actually armed, not because you thought he had a gun and there's a mobile phone in his hand, or you thought he was reaching for a gun, but he's reaching for his gun permit to show to you, or his driver's license. You know, Trump and them are putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound by saying, okay, well, we're gonna do some reforms. No, you don't want reforms. What you want is a legislative law that says any policeman who uses lethal force on unarmed citizens, and citizens who haven't even committed a crime, and citizens who aren't even showing, any type of aggression, they should be booked to the fullest extent of the law. And that's the only thing that's going to stop it. That's the only thing that's going to stop it. You don't need a reform or like, okay, well, we'll just, no. Because they know. They've been trained already. They've already been trained. So they know what they should and should not be doing. Another thing, did you hear what the police said? In one state, they said that they're going to make it illegal, or they have made it illegal, for you to film the police arresting people. Okay, that's a good answer. Instead of not unnecessarily killing people or unnecessarily using lethal force or aggressive force, they would rather us not be filmed. So what does that mean? They'll be free to do whatever they want to do. And it goes back to the old days before these cameras were here of their word against theirs. This is their response. This is their mindset. This is their answer. Rather than to get it right, rather than to make things right, they rather have the right to do what they want to do regardless. Okay. It was very disturbing to see an entire black family, all the way down to a 6-year-old girl, laying on the ground and handcuffed because they thought the car was stolen. They thought the car was stolen. So the police chief came out and apologized and said, well, the officers, they responded appropriately because the call was for, an alleged stolen car. Let's say the black family did steal the car. What does the child have to do with it to be laying on the ground crying and screaming, being handcuffed by the police? Do you know what type of trauma that's going to cause that kid to grow up with? Even not the kids, even the teenagers, to be handled that way. People who are not violent, people who are not criminal people, to be treated that way. Don't you? I think they do understand. That's why they tell you to get on the ground, get on the ground. They want you to feel like subdued, like you have no power, like they have authority over you. And just think of what the mindset that kid is going to grow up with, laying there crying, watching the rest of her family laying on the ground, while these, excuse me, I have to use the misnomer because that's what it is, while these white officers are standing over her family with authority, unjustifiably. What do you think that does to a kid's mind? So, the only way out of this is to make sure that if this thing happens, these police officers are persecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And once they understand that that will be their, repercussion, I think things will change. And it has to be a law, not some reform, not some little program like staying after school to write your name 100 times on a board or something like that. No, that's not what you want. We needed law. Just like I know, if I go and rob a bank and I get caught by the police, I know what's going to happen to me. So I know that ahead of time. That's why I'm not going to rob a bank. I do need some money, but but I'm not going to rob a bank. Okay. So anyway, from school teachers should be diversified racially across the board, especially dealing in areas where there are people of color. The United Nations. Now think about this. People like to get on former President Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe because he always spoke his mind. That old guy, that old geezer, he always spoke his mind. To the whatever detriment or surprise to people, he always spoke his mind. He said one of the most profound things I've ever heard when he stood in front of the United Nations. He's already like in his 90s or something, and he stood there and told them that this is the United Nations. You are the United Nations. It's supposed to be an institution that's supposed to, they're made to be a global society to keep peace in the world and to keep balance among all of the countries, right? But yet, your headquarters is in New York or in Geneva, Switzerland somewhere or whatever. But the majority of the people live on the other parts of the planet. So why is the headquarters for the UN here? You see what I mean? Now, as I said, don't go extreme left or right. What I think is, why don't they do it like the Olympics or like an election? Maybe every 4 years, put the headquarters in another place, in another country. So like maybe 1 year, the UN headquarters, for one term, one tenure, it can be in Nigeria. After 4 years later, it could be in Japan. Maybe 4 years after that, it could be in Indonesia. 4 years after that, it could be in Brazil. So you see, it keeps balance. Does this make sense to you guys? As I said, if it doesn't make sense to you, you're free to your own thinking, your own choice. So I'm trying to come up with solutions. I don't want to just stand here and just bitch about things, but I'm trying to come up with solutions. So it's a start. Okay, and if you have a better one, okay, bring it on. Bring it on. Okay, anyway, going back to ending the systematic racism. The President of the United States is doing everything in his power to backpedal. First of all, think about this. He refuses to unveil the portrait of former President Barack Obama in the White House, breaking a 40-year tradition. Remember the inauguration when Trump was brought into, when he had the biggest ever turnout, period. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so anyway, did you see the way Michelle Obama and Barack Obama greeted them? How Michelle had a president for, the new first lady, and how they walked them, and how they were just so, regardless of how they felt about them politically or whatever, but they showed the proper, decorum at the way they just welcomed them, and they're being so civil about it. And in return, Trump refuses to unveil that photo. He refuses to call extreme groups, extreme hate groups, white extreme hate groups. He refuses to call them hate groups. He refuses to call them terrorists. But if you're marching for Black Lives Matter, you're a terrorist. If you're marching for George Floyd, you're a terrorist. He has to send out the secret guards to come out and throw you into unmarked vehicles and stuff like that. That is his response to the people, the citizens of America who come out peacefully because they have, some grievances that they have to address. And they're out to address it. And as far as the Constitution goes, we have the right to protest and to show our, displeasure with these things. And that's how he views it. He continues to fuel the flames of division and hate going on in America. And it just continues because it's coming from the top down. I'm not here to bash Trump. I'm not a Trump basher. And if you support Trump, I'm not here to bash you. You have your rights to, support whoever you want to support. Support Mickey Mouse for all I care. Hey, that's your right. Go for it. But we have to look at what's happening and the cause and effect because we're dealing with it. And also the president saying that we are defeating the radical left, signifying that we're at war with each other. Also for the president to say that if he loses this election, that there can be war, that people will, he's inciting these things. And we're not going to know what he's going to do. So let's see what's going to happen with the coming. First, he tried to shut down mail-in voting, but once he found out that if Florida doesn't mail in the votes, that he can lose that state and he can lose the election. Okay, Florida, you can, but Arizona, I'm not sure about them. So he's picking and choosing compared to where he thinks he may win or lose. This is what the president is doing, or trying to do. Okay, so anyway, let's go on down to what else is going on. Other than the fact that he's ready to lead the United States of America into a civil war in order to hold his place in office and to make sure that he stays there. So I would like to caution all of our brothers and sisters from going out there with the guns and arming yourselves and going out, because all they're going to do is bring in these federal agents. We don't even know who they are because they're unmarked. Their vehicles are unmarked, and it's going to be the real lockdown, not the coronavirus lockdown, but it's going to be a social lockdown, a police state, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, you guys? All right. So, you know what? That whole Nick Cannon thing with the ADL. Nick Cannon is our brother, and we have to show love for our brother. But I'm not going to get deep into that now. I have things I want to say about that. I don't even really want to talk about Nick Cannon and the ADL or the Jewish community, but I do want to talk about the situation that's there. And I'll talk about that at another time, okay? All right. So anyway, if America is really interested in ending the systematic racism, it would diversify that population and all the political arenas, all the social institutions, all the government institutions, all the military institute. It should be equally as integrated as the society is, because the society makes up the country, the population, the nation. It's the society that makes up the nation, okay? And if the governing body can't reflect that, it's always going to be unequal. It's always going to be disproportionately dealt with. And I think that's just my solution, okay? I'm going to go on to the stimulus package, okay? The lifeline, I'll call it the lifeline. I said in a few posts back that people were going to get evicted and this was going to happen. Now, who am I? Am I some type of socioeconomic analysis or something? No, I'm not. I'm not an analyst in that, but I saw it coming. I saw it happening. I spoke about it. You guys look back at my posts. So, one thing that's bad about humans altogether, across the board, regardless to what race you are or whatever, people are very slow to adapt to things. Like you hear about a disaster or somebody passed away, your first reaction is, oh, no, he didn't. It's like first denial, and then you can grasp it. Then you start trying to find a way to deal with what's going on. Well, that's what's happening because people don't adapt to change in real time. That's what the problem is. Some do, but I think in general, people don't. Because if we knew that we had to put the nation on a lockdown, that we knew that businesses had to freeze, that people weren't going to work, then we had to anticipate that people would not be making money to pay their rents, to buy food, and to continue their livelihood. As businesses are going bankrupt, as all kinds of things are falling apart now, why didn't they have the foresight to understand that these people would be so in my mind. Here's what I would have done, and I said this before. I would have froze everything, rent, mortgages, everything frozen until this whole thing was done with, and then start from ground zero, from back there all again, so that there's no back owed rent, a back owed this. And even if this, let's say that is not back owed rent, so let's say it starts from here, from ground zero, all over again, right? What about the rent that's coming the month after that and after that? These people haven't been working. So they come up with these stimulus plans. And this is what I want to talk about, so I want you guys to listen to this. In Jeffrey's world, if I rule the world, this is how I would deal with it. Check this out, you guys. The NBA, okay, National Basketball Association, the NBA has about 30 teams. Annually, each team makes $1.9 billion annually. Collectively, that's over $8 billion annually in revenue from sales of tickets, from merchandise, I think from, TV airing contracts or whatever like that. That's $8 billion. This is only the NBA, okay? Let's go to Major League Baseball. Collectively, they have a combined revenue of $10.37 billion annually. That's Major League Baseball alone, okay? Let's go to the NFL, National Football League. They've got $8.1 billion annually. Now we're talking about players who have exorbitant salaries that they make into the millions of dollars, into the tens of millions, some into the hundreds of millions of dollars annually, right? The fashion industry, okay? The fashion industry is a $380 billion industry. The fashion industry. The film industry, America alone is $42.5 billion annually, and that was in 2019. And globally, it's $41.7 billion. Okay? Let's see. Did that make sense? That's 42.5 billion. Okay. All right. Anyway, so let's go to the fast food industry. You guys get what I'm getting at, okay? You get what I'm getting at. The fast food industry. There are over 230,000 establishments. That amounts to $190 billion annually. That's the fast food industry. You guys, I'm getting to a point. Okay? Here's my favorite, okay? This is my favorite. In America alone, the combined Christian churches in America is making $74.5 billion annually. $74.5 billion annually. That's off of you guys' tithes, off of your offerings. Okay? Now, why am I saying this? Look at the billions of dollars that I just went through, plus the trillions of dollars that Trump is pulling for the stimulus. Do you realize that let's say, what I'm saying is, when we know that there's such a crisis of unprecedented disproportion as we're having right now with this COVID-19, something that has never happened before since 100 years ago or so, but so it didn't happen in our lifetime. We weren't alive. So this is something that is of grave emergency. I think all these institutions would have said, you know what? Because they're still trying to go out and play baseball, and some team members are coming down with coronavirus. They're still trying to go out and play this sport. Why don't they stop it, you guys? Adapt to change. Stop the games. Just like we can't tour. Our tours are stopped. So we can't go on tour. So I'm not on tour. And I don't want to go because I understand that people don't need to be bunched up in a building like that to be our audience due to what's going on right now. And we don't need to be traveling around like we used to do. So this year we're off tour. So why can't, because they're making so much money But look how much money they made in the last season. The NBA, the NFL, the PGA, the golf tournament, the film industry, Major League Baseball. Look at all the billions that were already made. So couldn't some of these players deal with the fact that, you know what, our country is in an emergency. I think we need to just chill right now. I live in a mansion. I've got tens of millions already in my bank account. Why don't we take some of this money and make sure that our people are taken care of? Because who are the people who are making these sports athletes rich? Who are the people who are making the film stars rich? Who are the people who are making the fashion designers rich? The population, the citizens. So in return, when we need a lifeline and the citizens need a way to survive, these people feel, well, if we can't make our billions and we can't make our millions, wouldn't it be beautiful if everybody just pitched in and just said, you know what, we're all dealing with this, and until this thing is over with, come on, let's cut some of these salaries, let's cut this and that, let's take a chunk of this, let's take a chunk of that. Some people are doing it, but it's happening on such a minuscule scale. Or let's say, I don't want to be rude, let's say just a moderate scale. Okay, let's say moderate. It's happening on a moderate scale. But if we really wanted to take care of everybody and defeat everybody, this thing that's after us, I think the mindset would be, especially the churches should know about charity. Christian churches, isn't your Savior all about charity? Christian churches should have been the first. You guys got $74.5 billion. Okay, all right. On the other end, as I said before, the black community in America, people of color, you have a $1.2 trillion spending power annually. As I said, do without Gucci, you could do without Louis Vuitton, you could do without the latest iPhone and this and that. You guys, do you understand how much power you have? I don't mean just black people. I mean everybody across the board. Those who are out there suffering, worried about that if they're going to get evicted. Some people have already gotten evicted. Worried about if you're going to eat or not. Do you know how much collective spending power we have that's running the nation? So, one good thing I like that the sports players are making their own demands finally about they want to protest out there. They want to get down on the knee. They want to wear the Black Lives Matter. Remember what happened with Colin Kaepernick in the beginning. It was so sad to see him stand up for black people being mistreated by the police and murdered by the police, and all the other black players just left him out there, just left him out dry. But now everybody's come around finally. Even some of the team owners are coming around. So that's good to see. That's one good thing to see. But the players are now going to start having to cancel their games now because they went out there trying to make some more of that good money. And I know the owners of the clubs and that, yeah, they wanted some more of that good money. But you guys made last year billions of dollars. If you can go 1 year without making such exuberant salaries to help your nation, wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? That'd be a very beautiful thing. Okay, I don't want to get too long-winded on that. Other than that, I just want to say I hope all is going well with everybody. I hope you guys are still taking care of yourselves, taking care of your loved ones, because you know what? The sad thing about it, Anthony Fauci. Now, who's right and who's wrong? There's Bill Gates. There's Anthony Fauci. There's the Trump administration. There are other medical professionals that are coming out saying things. So people don't know what to believe anymore. People don't know what to believe. But the sad thing about it is Anthony Fauci and his family members are getting their lives threatened. And it's only because the way Trump speaks against him publicly to his supporters. Trump has to know what his supporters are capable of doing by now because they've already shown it. And now these people are sending death threats to Anthony Fauci and his family for this man doing what he feels is his job. Now, is he right or wrong? I don't know about these vaccines, the vaccinations, but this is his profession, and this is what he's supposed to do. So if the president doesn't agree with you, he attacks you. The president attacking you is a sign for his supporters to attack you. He knows this. Of course he does. He has to know this by now. It's a sad state of affairs what's going on. I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to forget anything. Other than the fact that I think the population needs to wake up and understand the disproportion that's going on. I think refusing to reprioritize things, did I get that right? Reprioritize, yeah. I don't want to get tongue-tied here. I think that's what they need to do in cases of emergency like this. They need to reprioritize and find a way to balance it so that nobody has to go homeless, so that families aren't going to get evicted, so that people don't have to worry about being thrown out of their apartments and everything. This is just the Jeffrey Daniel Wish plan. If I had my way, if I ruled the world, this is what I would have done. This is what I would have done, so that everybody could equally be, have a lifeline, look out for each other. That's what a nation should do. That's what a nation should do. And maybe I'm dreaming, maybe I'm naive, but in a perfect world, that's what they should do. Other than that, I guess that's all, you guys. Please stay safe. Please wear your mask when you have to. I don't understand this thing about fighting each other in public about wearing a mask and not wearing a mask. A guy went to a Burger King and came back and actually killed one of the employees. People in restaurants are attacking each other over the not wearing a mask. Going into Walmarts or department stores, being told to have a mask, and these people are, resorting to attacking the staff for requesting that they wear a mask or refusing them to come in without a mask, because there's not one concise plan. The Trump administration refuses to come out with a plan that everybody can follow. Whether you agree with it or not, or like it or not, but at least the plan is in place that we need to follow. That's what's not happening. So, confusion in every area, from everywhere. So I'm gonna go, this is getting lengthy. You guys, spread the love, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and as I always say, make love great again, okay? Until the next time.